Welcome to Brian's Blunders. Just as a recap, this is where I talk about things that I did wrong in my career that impacted myself, relationship with others, or the company I was working for. And this is episode 10, and it's basically, its title is, I Should Have Argued Harder for This Guy. So back in the 1990s, I was working in optical ground wire for AFL and over process engineering and development and operations. And we had a technology to make optical ground wire that we had had since the beginning, and it was limited. We could do 48 fiber count really well, but above that was a challenge. And it became apparent to our product manager that that wasn't going to fly. And so he finally conceded that we needed to look at other technologies and expand the scope of what we were doing. So first thing I had to do was hire somebody. I needed a development engineer that could work on this full time. And I reached out to a friend of mine who worked at AFL as well, a guy named Harvey Bloomsack. I know I don't normally mention names, but this guy was amazing. Bright guy, one of the brightest guys I've ever met, nicest guy as well. He designed the first transatlantic fiber optic cable, and I learned a ton from him. What he gave me helped me in my career significantly. So he gave me a recommendation, and there was a guy down in Texas, and interviewed him, liked him, so we hired him up. Got on board, took a little bit of time to get his feet on the ground, get to know the lay of the land, what our market was, what we're trying to achieve, what our capabilities were, the different technologies that are out there. But then it started, and it started in a big way. So we had, over the following 2 years, we developed a myriad of new optical ground wire products, a very low cost one. We got up to 144 fiber count. We even did a 432 fiber count. We made probably the world's smallest optical ground wire at the time. We also did one that was a combination of very low diameter, very high conductivity, that ended up being a tremendous seller at AFL. I actually referred to that in one of the other blunders, the one that I should have gotten a patent on. Anyway, so incredible time, and this development engineer sped up the process significantly. And time is money in business, right? The quicker you get it to market, the better off we were 6 to 8 months ahead of the competition. We crushed them for a while. It was wonderful. And that development engineer paid for himself many times over, and it was all good. The challenge, though, and this is kind of where my blunder falls in, is this development engineer wasn't smooth. He wasn't polished, but he knew his stuff. And a lot of times when he would throw out an idea, it would be a plane or two higher than what everybody else was thinking. So it always took everybody else time to catch up. And I recognized this pretty early on, that he had assumed things that the rest of us knew, and but that was okay. I mean, it led to great things at the end of the day, but not everybody felt that way. Because he wasn't polished and didn't present wonderful PowerPoints, and he didn't have that. And I'm going to be a little stereotypical here, but he didn't have that frat boy, alcohol-infused vibe going on. He wasn't, that prototypical type of person at all. And I think that's what the product manager, he liked those kind of people. And he ended up bad-mouthing this guy. And because I heard it from senior management, and it was like, hang on, this guy's great. He's crushing it. And so when I did hear about that, I would try to tamp it down, but on one level, kind of the damage was done. So what ended up happening is telecom bubble finally burst, and business was pretty dire, and we didn't know how long it was going to last, and we had to look for cost reductions. And the development engineer's name came up very quickly, and I tried to push back on it because I thought there was other people that were, frankly, of less value to AFL than this development engineer, and I lost the argument. So got to let go. The counter to that is we ultimately went through 7 layoffs, and he probably would have gotten laid off at some point in the future. But if I would have argued harder all along and communicated his worth to upper management in a better way, I would have bought him time, which, frankly, may or may not have been good. So that was my blunder. If you got a good employee, you gotta go to bat for him, and you got to go bat for him. Unfortunately, sometimes a lot, especially if that person doesn't fit the mold that is viewed as being the right fit, the right style, whatever that is. I found incredible people with every kind of quirk and personality that you can imagine. Everybody has something to contribute, regardless of how they come off. Now, if they're mean, they're abusive, that's a different story. There's no room for that. And this development engineer did other stuff too, so kind of digress. And this isn't a blunder, but it was just kind of show this development engineer's worth a little bit. And everybody knew about this one too. So there was a point during the telecom bubble when things were incredible. We couldn't color enough fiber to feed the factory, and the guy running it said it was because of maintenance issues and all that, and I was over maintenance too, and there's not a maintenance issue, and it was running about, in my view, 40% of what it was capable of, and but it wasn't my responsibility, and I kind of him challenging me as being over maintenance, and it became my problem, which was kind of good, because then I felt like, all right, game on. And I talked to the development engineer about it, and so we ended up coming up with a plan to see what we could do to close the gap. And we started off day one and did something that was shockingly easy to do, and it's shocking how many managers don't do this simple thing, and that is we defined what our goal was as a team. We defined what the goal was for each individual and what it would take each individual to achieve their goal, and what do they do if they're struggling. And so in the first day, we talked to every person individually, and we asked them at the end, is this doable? Are we missing anything? And we got a few suggestions actually that were good, but they weren't needle movers by any stretch of the imagination. And within 3 days, we got the production where it needed to be. And it maintained that for 3 weeks. And at that point, everybody recognized, well, this isn't a maintenance problem. This is a management problem, as most problems tend to be frank. And what was really frustrating is about 3 weeks after we were done, even though I gave what I viewed as the recipe to the guy running it, he basically threw that in the trash, or at least it appeared such, and we were back to, maybe we got to 50% of what we were capable of, but we weren't hitting the numbers like we had been before. Very frustrating. But anyway, so this development engineer was capable of doing many things, and I just felt like we could have hung on to him a little bit longer, and it was my fault. So anyway, so that's my blunder. Again, episode 10. And so today I'm at Yee Haw Brewing in Greenville, South Carolina. I'm drinking a beer called Vote for Beer. So I'm not sure when this one's going to be published, probably after the election. But anyway, it's a good beer. If you get to Greenville, stop by. And if you do, give me a call. I'd be glad to meet you here. Anyway, take care, and we'll talk again next week.